Welcome back to Adaptive. We're going to cover one of the most important items when it comes to using AI, at least AI chatbots like ChatGPT, which is what the vast majority of people use these days. And it is prompting, and you may have understood that. I get so many people who get confused on how to prompt or don't know what to say or read these manuals and these big PDFs and other tips and tricks and all this about how to prompt and get very confused and confused very quickly. And I understand why, because if you want to do this, then you need to do X, and if you want this, then you need to do Y. If it's quick and dirty, just do that. If it's more complex, you do this, bullet point it, go through this process, whatever it is. And the reality is, I think that's all garbage. And here's why. For the average person, they're not going to remember how to do it, or they're going to overcomplicate it, and it's just going to be way too much work. So also, why would we do that when we use ChatGPT to already do the work for us? So the first thing we're going to do is use ChatGPT to write a prompt for ChatGPT. And that's going to make everything so much easier. You still need to think a little bit, and you need to be able to provide details and answers and things like that. But in the end, what you're going to come out with in a prompt is going to be worlds better than what you started with and what you would probably submit. So the first rule of this is stop looking at ChatGPT and Gemini and Copilot and Claude or whatever you're using. Stop looking at it as what other people have told you to, a tool. That's the biggest mistake I see, is looking at it like a tool. Look at it like a coworker. Okay? Look at it like an employee. And the reason I say that is look at it like a real person that you're messaging back and forth with who's remote. If you do that, you're very quickly going to stop quitting when you don't get what you want. So let's just walk through what that looks like. So you have an employee that you tell to do something, and you say, okay, I want you to go over, pick this up, take and drop it off over there, and then after dropping it there, make sure when you get there, do X, Y, and Z, and then come back over here, blah, 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 blah. That's your work, right? And that employee, then when you go there, you specifically told them which box to put it into, and they put it in the wrong box. So do you just then quit and fire that employee and move on? No. You go, why didn't you put it in that box? And you need to make sure, oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. And then the next time they get it right. And you iterate with them. And you work with them, you train them, and they get it right. Well, that's one aspect of what you need to do with ChatGPT. So number one, treat it like an employee. Another thing, and then correct ChatGPT when you're speaking back and forth with it. And I'm using ChatGPT, it's the same with all the models. The second thing that most people don't do is tell it to ask you questions if it's not clear or if it needs more information. Super simple to do. But once again, this is an important aspect because it will absolutely ask you questions. It's not really good at initiating conversation at this point, like an employee would. But going back to the employee example, you may tell them, again, I need you to go do X, Y, and Z. One common technique is to say to them, do you have any questions? Is it clear to you? Do you understand? And inevitably, a lot of times they're asking you questions back. No, I don't understand this, blah, 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 blah. You're answering those. That's working back and forth, iterating back and forth with them. So enough of the dialogue here, but just so you know, once again, treat it like an employee or a coworker. Give it specific directions and ask it to ask you questions and then answer the questions and iterate back and forth till you get what you want. And you're training it. And then when you have those conversations in that chat going forward, it knows what you want. So it really is good. So let's jump over to ChatGPT. Before I do that, I'm going to show you this example. I saw this today. Very, very cool. A brand new, the world's first personal because this has been commercial up till now, 3D texture UV printer. And it was very cool. I watched a video on this on YouTube. Just, not something I'm necessarily going to do myself, but it's still very cool. And I really thought you could easily create a business around this. So let's go over to ChatGPT. And I have a prompt that I've done. I'll just paste it in. And it is based upon making a business using the Eufy Make UV printer. So let's just walk through how I do this and how I recommend that you craft a prompt that will be worlds better than anything you would do by yourself. And you don't have to remember all the stupid rules out there or all the recipes or the workflow or answer these questions and sit down and do all this work ahead of time. You can jump right in. Write a prompt based upon the following prompt I wrote, optimized for best results. If you need something clarified or need more info, ask questions. Right? Super simple. Then I go to write the prompt. I have an idea for a business that uses the Eufy Make UV printer, a 3D texture UV printer, to print on metal, wood, acrylic, ceramic, rock, glass, blah, 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 and more. I would like to come up with some ideas for the business, specifically in the niche, what niches I can target. At first, to quickly grow the business, I also want to look at costs and pricing, which will require looking at the printer cost, supplies cost, material cost, shipping, taxes, etc. There you go. There's a prompt, but that prompt is actually taking the prompt that I wrote that was, specific, but is definitely going to need some work to get a really good result. So we're going to press enter on that. And as it works, here we go. Now it's already given me a defined prompt. And look at this. That's way, way better than what I put in there. And then let's look down here. Are you starting this solo or a team? So here's questions. Solo. Starting. Come on. Mic is in the way. Caps lock, of course. Starting solo. Primarily sell on Etsy, but also list on my own Shopify site and to local friends, family, and word of mouth. I do not own the printer, but will purchase it. Cost is $9 plus tax. Is the target B2C or B2B? So B2C, is it business to consumer or business to business? B2C is the target. Okay. If you need more info, ask questions. So once again, I tell it to ask questions, and sometimes after I answer those, it's ready to go. But sometimes they'll come back with more questions listed at the end, and I'll sit here and iterate on this. And the prompt rewritten. So that one says it's good to go. So now what I like to do is, yes, I can run that in here. But I like to go to a new window. And there's a reason behind that, because sometimes I'm iterating back and forth and say I don't want this and that. And I've seen that it can corrupt the output of what I get back, because it's looking at the current chat history even more than the past chat history, which it still looks at. And it really takes that into full effect. So I want to get a fresh take on this. So let's just put this in and run it. And honestly, I should have gone to 03. But let's see what it comes up with on 4.0, and then we can compare it. So custom pet, absolutely would be a good one. Wedding and anniversary, another good niche. Small batch branded merchandise. So custom display signs, influencer plaques, etc. Home decor and luxury keychains and bags. That's kind of interesting. So it took the price with tax. 2 to 3 years is saying $100 a year in cleaning kits and parts. it's done a really good job, right? And UV ink, cost per item. Here's the materials cost approximately, labor time, which is printing time, probably also the 3D side, getting it set out. And so it's given me some suggested pricing here with margins and everything. So you can see how good this is. I would not have gotten this result off the initial prompt that I did. Not even close. Not even close. This is how you get really good results. So let's do another chat. And this time let's use the O3 model, which is a reasoning model. And let's let it think a bit and let's compare that. But if you look, sorry, I went off of that. If if you look at what we got here in this prompt, it's not even as elaborate as what I get on some of the other things that I ask, like strategy things that I want to do, or even images. Sometimes I specify a good amount. I want an image, and it asks me for more information, and yeah, I can get a really long prompt for that. But it's very specific on the image that I get back, and I get a result that is better than I would have got myself, and often way much better because I said ask questions about it. So let's let this run, and it's gathering the print specs now. So it's literally out there, going out. That's the one thing that's done with O3 is it's got what's called the ability to call tools, which are like web searches, write code even, and things like that. If it needs to do a calculation, it can write its own code to calculate. But it's gathering a bunch of different information about everything. And that's why this should be most likely a much better result than we got from the 4o model. The 4o model is not a reasoning model. It is a model that is kind of the old school way where it runs with what it has. And it did a good job. We saw that, but I'm really interested to see what we get out of this O3 model because it is going out and doing so much research, searches, looking at the printer, looking at different options for printing, niche groups, everything. And here we go. Notice we got a typical price on Etsy. So it's went out and done the research on pricing on Etsy for us, which is really, really useful for if we wanted to boot up a business here. And not only that, so, it's given us like different raised letter, wedding type of thing, 35 to 40. So you can see what your competitors would be doing and what kind of things they're doing. Cost and pricing framework. Here's a blank. Here's the ink coatings. It shows us examples of a wood plaque or a tumbler, laminating film, packaging, shipping. Shipping. That's just awesome. Labor solo, all-in cost. Here's our all-in cost, right? Suggested retail. Look at the margins on those, folks. You can see it right there, and the gross margin even at the bottom. What a great job. So here is a playbook for rapid fire marketing playbook and next steps. So really well done. It didn't really give me markets necessarily to go after, so that's something that I would follow up and ask. But you can see and you get the gist of how easy it is to come up with a really good prompt when you use ChatGPT to write the prompt. And yes, you're prompting ChatGPT to get a prompt to then prompt ChatGPT. Try that 3 times really quickly. So prompt cubed, I guess, is what we're saying, right? So, you cube any number, it's better. Well, the same goes with the prompt. It's much better by the time that you get done. And it's not hard. It's easy to do. I do this other than just very simple prompts, like very simple queries, very simple answers, things that I know it can do very quickly. If not, then I have it write a prompt for me. That's the first thing that I do so that I get back even better results than I would by myself. So there you have it. Once again, think about ChatGPT and all the other models as an employee, and as you would work with an employee, where you will iterate with them, go back and forth, and you'll ask them, is that clear? And if not, if you have questions, ask them and you answer them. And you do that in each go between because you want it to query to ask you questions if it's not clear, if it thinks it could have more, or any of those things. And another tip and trick is, watch this. I'll give you one more that's super easy. What other ideas do you have for this? Because we get so into prompting it and asking it, just like you might do with a coworker or even employee. Say, hey, do you have any other ideas that we could do with this that would make sense? So, when you do that, I won't I'll fast forward this so we get to it. So you don't have to say, oh, actually, it came back in 18 seconds. Here you go. And consumer wow factor lines. This is perfect, right? 3D Braille wall quotes. Now that's interesting. Would never have thought of that. Tactile topographic map plaques. That would be pretty cool. Textured nursery growth charts and collectible adult art tiles. Adult toy collectible crate. That's pretty cool too. And so it gives you other ideas in here. So that's why I said, what other ideas do you have for this? If I hadn't asked that question, I'd be still stuck on the prompt that I started with. This is that iteration, working back and forth that I've been stressing to you. So you work back and forth and you get the prompt, you put it in. But even then, do you have any other, ideas? And say, do you have any other questions that might give you more ideas? And you just keep iterating. You're going to get phenomenal. Like this result, look at the result that I got in the end because I iterated back and forth. So that's it. That's the tips and tricks on prompting. It isn't rocket science like so many of these people want to make it out to be, where you have to have a prompting playbook or any of this other crap out there. The reality is, folks, you're already using ChatGPT to do work, and why not use it to do prompting? I mean, it makes all the sense in the world. It'll also make you much better at using ChatGPT. So there you have it. Hope you enjoyed this one. I hope you'll think about giving me a like and subscribe, because that really helps me to be able to make more of these. And I look forward to seeing you next time.